Hey everybody, it's Chris Gunzz, and I'm being joined by Main Event's Vice President of Operations, Jolene Mizzone, one of the important links in the chain that is Main Events. You've been involved in so many important fights, Jolene. Lots of the most celebrated fights, some of the biggest fights in the history of the sport, from Holyfield Foreman, even though you look like you're not much older than 20. Jolene, you were also you were also involved in Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis, and maybe the greatest trilogy in boxing history as far as edge of your seat excitement's concerned, in the Gatti Ward trilogy, which HBO just made a great documentary on. And now you're in New York City for this weekend's guaranteed thriller, when probably the best middleweight in the world right now, Triple G Gennady Golovkin, takes on Main Event's horse, your horse in the race, Curtis Showtime Stevens. Thanks for joining me to talk about this fight. I've been excited about it since it was signed. It has the potential to be Gatti Ward-like, doesn't it, Jolene?
Yes, it does. Absolutely. The definitely candidate for fight of the year. It could be nothing but fireworks.
Yeah, it's a can't miss slugfest, which is guaranteed to end with someone on their back or being saved. I know it's a busy time for you as you play the usual integral part and getting everything ready. You've been close to Curtis for a while now. It's a big fight for him. You've been close to him in recent days too. How's Curtis looking physically, and what's his mood like going into this fight?
He's looking good mentally. He's ready. Physically, he's definitely ready. I mean, I was up in camp with him a lot. I went up every weekend since he started camp. He's been putting in the time, the work. His focus is there. He's ready to go for Saturday.
Yeah. Do you see a difference in Curtis before this fight and say his past few fights, which for the most part have all been impressive, but I think it's fair to say that those guys weren't on the level of Triple J. But
right.
Do you notice a difference in Curtis before this fight and those last few fights with the stakes being so high?
No, actually, you know what? I don't notice the difference. He's the same focused guy. He's the same guy that went in with Roman, that went in with Ayala, that went in with Finley. He's the same focused guy. I mean, with Curtis, and he said in many interviews, it's 90% mental, 10% physical. The physical, his ability his power and his boxing ability, and his, he's fast also. That comes naturally. It's the focus that he needs to be on this big stage. What I do see a difference in is Curtis from before he fought Ayala, when he was, fighting for other promoters, wasn't fighting for us. I still, was close with him. I still was close with him after the Brinkley loss. We still spoke as friends. And even before the Brinkley fight, that's where I see the difference. When Main Event signed Curtis after the Ayala fight, the reason we signed him is because, I see a different Curtis. And I think, and it's funny because I was just talking about this with somebody, probably about a year ago, or maybe 9 months ago, I had a meeting with Peter Nelson from HBO. 9 months ago, I was. And the one thing I said to Peter Nelson, I was talking about Curtis, and he was like, yeah. And I said to him, you know what Curtis's secret is now? His secret is 160 pounds. That's the biggest difference in him.
Yeah.
That's the biggest difference, and it showed in the fights that he was in against the guys. Even with the Roman fight, I was saying again today, I was talking to actually Peter Nelson about this. I can't tell you how many texts I got from people in the industry, and very, matchmakers, and it wasn't just people being haters saying, listen, if Curtis Stevens isn't ready, Roman could upset him. I said, listen, this is what Curtis needs. He needs a guy like Roman. Roman had 6 weeks to train. Is he Golovkin? No, he's not Golovkin. But he did have the full 6 weeks to train. And, before that fight, a lot of people were coming to me saying, if he's not in shape, Roman can upset him. And, when Curtis did what he did, I didn't expect that in the first round,
Yeah. And you mentioned it yourself, the secret's 160 pounds. Who is the bigger puncher in this fight? I mean, Golovkin is called the biggest puncher in middleweight history, but he did fight a lot of guys coming up from 154, and Curtis fought a lot of guys at 168 and 175 even.
75, yeah.
So who do you think is the bigger puncher in the fight?
Well, I can tell you something that we have probably about 4 months ago. HBO is doing this punch stat thing where they put these things in your gloves, and I sent Curtis there with other fighters. HBO asked me to help him. So Curtis went to Gleason's, and he did the punch stat thing for HBO, and they called me 3 days later. His readings came up higher than most heavyweights, so they thought the machine was broken. If you look back, Max Kellerman brought it up on his radio show. Mm-hmm. And the producer from HBO called me and said, oh, you have the numbers? Just curious. And he said, I don't know. We got to check our machine because the readings that we're getting are not normal. So, and that was coming from the left. And then they did, Golovkin actually wore them for the Macklin fight. These punch stat, you could wear them in your gloves. And Golovkin's right was a little, read a little harder than Curtis's, and Curtis's left read harder than Golovkin. So, to tell you the truth, as far as, I don't know if it's so much the power as it's who could take the better punch.
No.
Curtis has been down. Yes, he's been down. Mm-hmm. I know. He's been down that road. He's been on the canvas, which mentally for a fighter is a good thing. It's not about if you get knocked down. It's about if you get back up. Mm-hmm. So, mentally he's already been down that stage. He's been on the canvas, and even with the Finley fight, was that Curtis's best performance? No. But you know what? I was happy with it because it showed me a lot of maturity in Curtis. He was in his hometown, in the Garden, matter of fact, fighting Finley, who was hitting him in the back of the head once, Mm-hmm. Curtis kept his composure. At one point, which they ended up reversing it, but Finley put him down, he didn't lose his composure. He didn't say to himself mentally, shit, I'm on the canvas, and lose it and then go, he kept his composure. So each fight that I've done with him, there's a reasoning for it. It's to get ready for what we're after on Saturday. Mm-hmm. He was fighting Roman, who, is Roman, and no one knows. Does Roman have the power of Golovkin? No, probably not, but he has power. Mm-hmm. Ayala, he has power. So it wasn't, you have these guys that go in the ring and fight these other guys, and they don't really have that much power. Everybody who Curtis went in and fought his 3 fights up to Golovkin. I'm not one to say, do they have more power than Golovkin? No. But they all had power. They weren't guys that were 20-5 with 10 knockouts. Every guy he was in the ring with these 3 fights, whether he starts them in the first round or whether he went the distance with, all 3 of them had power. Yeah. So, that's which is what my plan was. I didn't want to put him in with somebody with no power because if our ultimate goal is to fight Golovkin, he has to get used to that. It's every fight leading up to the big fight is practice. Mm-hmm. So.
And I love that you don't sugarcoat things. You're totally honest. And like I said, Curtis is the main event's horse in the race, and I know you're hoping for a Curtis win. It's going to be a tough fight, most likely, win, lose, or draw. What do you think of Triple G and the fact that most people consider him the best middleweight in the world? He is a dangerous guy. And
absolutely.
So what do you think about Triple G when you see him fighting?
Well, what I look at, too, as a matchmaker, and you're always looking at what the other guy did with somebody, okay? Let's start with his last fight with Macklin, okay? And this is not to take anything away from any of the guys. Macklin's claim to fame is not getting that beat up by Martinez. Mm-hmm. His claim to fame. He fought Gabriel Rosado, who gave him a great fight. Gabriel Rosado is 154.
Yep.
Before that, he fought the Japanese kid. What's his name?
I know who you mean. I can't think
Gatti or whatever. I mean, again, look at what we're talking about.
Yep.
This is the God supposedly of the middleweight division. I can't say what the guy's name is that he fought.
He's a...
So, most of the guys he fought were 54. You go back to Kasim Uma. Kasim Uma's really a 54-pounder.
Yep.
So in this, he's fighting a real 160-pounder, and I think the bottom line with this fight comes down to who could take the punch, who could take the better punch.
Yeah. And what do you think of the fact that Triple G says that he's never been hurt in his whole life boxing? He had over 350 amateur fights, sparred countless rounds, said he never even was remotely hurt in the ring. Do you believe that?
No.
Don't believe it.
I don't. It's like I don't believe Finley when he fought Curtis that Curtis never hurt him. Okay, we're in a man's sport, a bravado sport. No one's going to admit, just like half of the fighters don't admit before they go in the ring that they're scared. Have to be. You have to be. You're human. So for him to say that he was never hurt, no, that's total bullshit. Then you know what? It's bullshit. You have to, in sparring in something. Because the bottom line is, he could be the god to everybody, but at the end of the day, he bleeds just like everybody else.
Yep.
He's not a superhero. I mean, he bleeds like me and you. He bleeds like Curtis Stevens. So to say he's never been hurt, I think it's absurd. I think it's absurd. I think that no one's ever seen him be hurt, but to say you've never been hurt, that's crazy.
Yeah, maybe he's trying to add a little myth to it.
Yeah.
What's Curtis have to do? I know you're close to his uncle, his trainer, same guy, Andre Rozier, and you're close to Curtis. Did you talk about the game plan that they're going to try to put into effect, and what kind of game plan? I know you don't want to give anything away, but I don't think that Triple G and his trainer Abel Sanchez could change the game or even would change the game plan. But what are you looking for in Curtis that will make you feel at ease in this fight when the bell rings? And if you see it going the way you want it to go, what should he be doing?
I think he needs to come out firing smartly, not looking for the one knockout. He has to play it. He can't go in there and box him. Okay, it's not going to work. He has to fight smart, put his punches together, and the left or the right will come. Just as he's done in sparring. It's pressuring him and backing him up and backing him up and backing him up. Because if you look at all of Golovkin's fights, he cannot fight backing it up. No one ever pressured him. He needs to back him up and pressure him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Curtis has been talking about this fight since before his last couple of fights. There was a time that the head of main events, Kathy Duva, was a little iffy on whether Curtis was ready or not. There was a time that even his trainer, Andre Rozier, was trying to slow him down a little bit. What made everybody agree to make the fight happen now? And was it because Curtis demanded it, or was there other reasons behind it?
It was after the Roman fight. It put the stamp on it. Put the stamp on it. That's at least for me. It just after the Roman fight, and Roman is not Golovkin, but again, he's a man who bleeds the same way we all do, and he's a guy who has power. And, putting that fight together and doing that fight, did I think Curtis was going to win? Absolutely. Did I think he was going to starch him the way he did in the first round? No. No. And that, that put the stamp on. After that fight, his confidence, because again, it goes back into the 90 and the 10. His confidence is sky high.
Yeah.
It's sky high. So you know what? Now's the time.
Yep.
Now's the time to go for it once his confidence is that high.
Yeah, and everyone...
As a matchmaker, as a promoter, it's okay, let's let it marinate. Okay, you put Curtis Stevens in with somebody else. Let's say he wins the fight, but it's not that good of a fight. Now it's a lot mental. It's a lot mental, so
yeah.
that's what stamped it for me with that. And we all discussed it and agreed and said, you know what? The fight's at the Garden. This is Curtis's city. So, the next time, let's say Golovkin's available, do we want to go? What if he's fighting in Russia? Let's just say.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of things put into it and thought about and discussed.
No. And I'm sure everyone on Team Stevens is putting that confident face on it, rightfully so. He's got a great chance to win it. Anyone knows that he's got a great punch and anything's possible. And I think he could match Golovkin's power. What is it about Curtis? You've been hanging out with him the past few days. You've been talking and being close to him. I don't know Curtis as well as you do, but is he an honest talker in the way he feels going into the fight? And what's he been saying about his chances of winning? And
in his mind, he's winning. There's no doubt. No doubt. Mm-hmm. He's going in there and he's taking that belt and he's winning. And what I'm seeing with Curtis is, when he does his interviews or whatever, it's Curtis. He talks shit. He swears. He does, whatever the case is. But him and Golovkin today, we had to do a photo shoot in Times Square. Tonight, we had to go to the Knicks blue carpet. They've been in each other's presence. Curtis hasn't mouthed off to him or talking shit, to try to hype himself up mentally. Curtis is calm, cool, collective. That's what they expect from Curtis. They expect Curtis to say to Golovkin, "Oh, I'm going to fuck you," whatever the case is. I'm taking, talk shit. Mm-hmm. He's calm, cool, and collective.
Well, what's the sense of being from Brooklyn if you can't talk some shit?
Exactly. Exactly.
And not too many people see fights as much as you do, and you do so many things in the sport. You're a matchmaker. You have an eye for talent, and you have an eye for what you think is going to play out once the bell rings. What fight comes to mind when you think about how the fight's going to look? Because when the fight was made, I immediately thought of Graziano and Zale and Ward and Gatti and things like that. Do you think there's any way that it could surprise us and not be as exciting as those fights were? No.
The only way I could see it not being exciting is if Golovkin gets in the ring and runs. Curtis isn't going to run. Mm-hmm. He's not. That's not his style. He's not going to run. Nor do I think Golovkin's going to. But who knows? Because like I said, Curtis has felt power before. He's been down before. If Golovkin feels that power, he might be running, he may be running around.
Yeah.
No one knows until they get in that ring. Mm-hmm. Oh, but that's going to show. Is Golovkin, is he going balls to the wall or is it survival mode?
Yeah.
The only thing I can say.
Yep. And how you mentioned the Garden and it being in Curtis's hometown. Do you worry about him trying to impress the hometown people or how it might affect him? Do you worry at all about that?
No, not at all.
How fitting is it?
We got him locked up.
Nah.
I got him locked up. Locked up good, believe me. Nothing goes past that door without me knowing. I got him locked up.
I'm excited.
And you know what? What people don't understand and what's great is the past couple of weeks, because I know a lot of his friends and people boxing-wise that are friends with him. I can't tell you how many texts, emails. I need tickets. I ain't giving tickets to nobody. Ain't giving nobody nothing free. Now, you know what? No. I'm not giving tickets. I don't want to worry about tickets. I don't care about tickets. I just give me my family tickets, give me to my mother. That's it. Don't worry about that shit. He's the greatest thing is his uncle will call or whatever, not Andre, but somebody will call and be like, "Oh, can I get a credential?" I'll be like, "Sir, so and so has her credential." Oh, hell no. He ain't playing now. Where it used to be 30 people deep with him. You don't want that anymore.
Yeah.
Which is great. Which is great.
Yeah. Maturation, I guess. Maturation.
Yeah.
Definitely ready for the shot now. How fitting is it that you mentioned it being at the Garden? I was excited about the fight when it first got signed, and the fact that it is at the Garden, totally the place where a fight like this should be. I'm just excited about it. What kind of crowd do you expect for the fight?
Well, I think it should be a good crowd. It's not our fight. It's K2, so I don't know. We don't really have anything with ticket sales, so I don't really know how many they sold, if they're giving any out. I have no idea, but it has to, the buzz we've been getting the past couple of days just on our end, on main event, and I can't, it has to be nothing but, a good crowd, I would think.
Yeah, and I know it's a busy time for you, and I won't keep you much longer, but before I let you go, I wanted to ask you what you thought of the great HBO documentary on Arturo and Mickey and the finished product that it was. What'd you think of it?
Well, I went to the premiere, and, I was in the movie theater. I was actually sitting next to Pat Lynch, and from the beginning to the end, all I did was bawl the whole time, because, I just brought back, and just bringing back everything, because I was so close with Arturo. And then seeing that and just the memories that came back, I thought they did an excellent job in the documentary and had the people that should have been and highlighted the people that should have been in the documentary. It told the story and brought you into the fight so well. I mean, I lived through the fight. But this for the average person, brought you into the actual fights, and you were like, oh shit, I didn't realize Arturo with the body shot, and Mickey, was getting hit on the side of the ear, and Arturo with the broken hand. There was such drama with every fight.
Yeah.
So with what happened in the ring and just the fight itself. Mm-hmm. So I thought they told the story very well.
Yeah, and you could have added a lot to it if they had you in it. You weren't in the documentary. Kathy Duva was, and she was great in it.
Mm-hmm.
Sum up that trilogy, and what comes to your mind when you think of what those two gladiators gave of themselves in those three fights?
It was not human. It was just everything about it was just not human. And I remember after every fight, I wasn't even in the ring, and I was sweating because it was so emotional. The first fight, it was emotional. You want Arturo to win Arturo. Then the second fight, we're getting a little closer with Mickey. And then Mickey still want Arturo. Then by the third fight, now we're close with Mickey. It's oh my God, now it's both guys. Oh my God, they're hit. It's going into this fight Saturday, look, it's, we're always wanting Gatti to win, but you get so close with Mickey, it was just the emotions that ran through were unbelievable. I've never experienced any fight I've dealt with.
Yeah. Yep, and main events builds relationships like that with their fighters, and we see it in the way that you handle Curtis Stevens. You guys, it's deeper than just fighter, promoter, or fighter, and matchmakers. You guys have close relationships with these guys, and we saw it with you and Arturo, and the way Arturo was treated with main events. It was a real relationship. How special was Arturo as a fighter, and more importantly, being around him as a person?
You know what? It's doing Arturo fight. It was never any drama. I mean, there was always drama, but it was never him causing it. It was a pleasure because it was always the same 5 guys that came with him. So it was just always going to Bally's or going to Caesars, going down for one of his fights. It's all right, cool. We got the work or whatever, but this is going to be fun because with Arturo we have fun with Pat Lynch, with all his guys, Buddy, Mikey Red, all those guys. It was always just such a good time, and the relationship with all of us, it was like family. It was never question, oh, my mother's not in the right seat, or, it was never any of that, or, oh, you think, thinking, because most fighters going in with promoters, they think you're ripping them off. It was always a mutual, respect that, it was easy. It was easy. It was like dealing with family.
Yep. I love the way they got along, and especially even after the first fight. I mean, you saw them build the relationship pretty much right after that first fight. Thankfully, Mickey is still here, and hopefully for many more years. The way he honors Arturo, even before he died, like I said, it's a special thing. They had a great relationship. How special is Mickey, and what do you have to say about the way he keeps Arturo's spirit alive the way he does?
Oh, it's unbelievable. But again, after they fought, we took Mickey in like family. Yeah. Every fight, Mickey, the room, we'd all be hanging out at the bar. Mickey was part of the team. Mm-hmm. It was normal. Anybody looking on the outside be like, oh, that's weird. They fought 3 times, but he was part of the team. And him keeping Arturo and always mentioning Arturo and always talking about Arturo. It's because of that special bond that they had. And after the fight, Arturo always having Mickey by his side. He never forgot him, you know. He just never looked at him as an opponent. He looked at him as a friend.
Yep. And he even named his bulldog after him, which I didn't know till that documentary.
Yes, that was great.
And they're two of the greatest warriors the sport's ever seen. And irregardless of the way Arturo went or what the circumstances might have been, I feel robbed as a fan of the sport that we won't be able to see Mickey and Arturo talking together about the incredible trilogy for the next 30 or 40 years like we should have had. I hope he's resting in
they
peace.
should have been reminiscing together.
Yeah. I hope he's resting in peace, and I hope he's in the Garden on Saturday night in a fight that has a chance to live up to any one of those 3 fights that Arturo took part in with Mickey when main events on Curtis Showtime Stevens gets his shot at the middleweight championship of the world against Triple G, Gennady Golovkin on HBO at 10 p.m. Thanks for taking time out of your busy and I'm sure hectic schedule, Jolene.
No problem, Chris.
Just a little more than 48 hours from fight time. Jolene Mizzone, Vice President of Main Events, and one of the too few women with clout in the sport. I appreciate your time and good luck Saturday night, Jolene.
Thank you, Chris.